following a 5-day search. The individual, who lives in Croydon in South London, had been quarantining at home. The news comes as COVID infection rates continue to fall across the UK. The number of deaths is falling sharply too. The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, says the link from new cases to hospitalisations to deaths is now being broken because of the vaccine. Our health correspondent Catherine Burns reports.
This mystery started when authorities found 6 people in the UK who tested positive for a worrying variant of coronavirus linked to Brazil. But they'd only actually found 5 of them. The last person hadn't registered their test properly. The team started trying to track them down, narrowing it down to 10,000 people and then a few hundred.
At this point, enhanced contact tracing kicked in, with call handlers calling, emailing and phoning all of the individuals that could have received a test in that time interval. These calls narrowed it down to 27 individuals.
Now we know the person had recently flown back from Brazil, lives in Croydon in South London and had quarantined at home. There will be extra testing in the area to make sure it's not spread any further. Another positive development, figures from the Office for National Statistics show how far cases have fallen since this lockdown started. They suggest that at the start of the year, about 1 in 50 people across the UK would have tested positive for coronavirus. By the end of January, cases had fallen to 1 in 65. And now another drop to 1 in 230 people. Schools going back is the first step towards things opening up, and authorities will be keeping a close eye to see what kind of impact it has. One possibility is that the fall in infections will begin to slow down. Another is that new cases could begin to rise, potentially pushing up the R number, how the virus spreads, up by 30%. But the vaccine rollout means that wouldn't necessarily be such a huge problem. Until now, high infection levels have inevitably meant high numbers in hospital and then a high death toll. But as the vaccines have more impact, that link is being broken. And so 9 weeks since the start of term, an end to homeschooling in England. Lucy Ferney-Howe's been doing lessons with her children, Astrid and Albie. Now it's over and it's fair to say they've got mixed feelings.
Albie, it's the end of homeschool.
No, I don't want to go back.
That one looks better on camera, but it's not. That one's a lot better to my eye.
Being able to play with them.
Slightly nervous about everyone going back next week. A little bit apprehensive, to be honest. This has been a strange time.
So, what's this question?
But no matter if they're reluctant or desperate to get back, primary and secondary school children in England will be swapping the kitchen table for the classroom on Monday. The rest of the UK will take things more slowly. Catherine Burns, BBC News.
Both Cyprus and Portugal say they hope to welcome vaccinated British tourists from May, when travel restrictions might be lifted in England. It's not clear how vaccine status would be approved, though. Meanwhile, from Monday, anyone leaving England will have to fill out a form to say why they're travelling. Our transport correspondent Caroline Davis reports.
Slight buzzing noise coming from it.
The run-through well before the runway. While many of EasyJet's planes aren't going to carry passengers yet, many are stored on the tarmac, waiting. Staff training has continued during the pandemic, putting pilots in simulators,
Face masks are required to be worn at all times.
and cabin crew through mock scenarios. While airports sit almost empty. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland are yet to set a date on when international travel might return, but the Prime Minister's roadmap for England means that things are already starting to change here in Gatwick.
Since the announcement, we've started work on returning all our colleagues back to work. The timescales around bringing the numbers of people back and the volumes of equipment and restarting the infrastructure, it takes time. It's not something that can be switched on overnight.
The industry is desperate to welcome passengers back up the steps and into international travel again. But the question is, where will they be going to? How do other countries feel about having British tourists back? Some are already working on their plans. Cyprus has announced that they'll welcome British tourists as soon as the UK will allow them to go.
Everybody is going to be able to fly from the UK to Cyprus as long as they have the necessary tests. And no matter what the case, there will be no quarantines unless course, you test positive when you get here.
They say that vaccinated British travellers can come to Cyprus without a test at all from May, if the UK allows them to fly. Portugal is currently on the UK's red list, meaning anyone arriving from there in the UK has to go into hotel quarantine at their own expense. But the tourism minister is optimistic about May too. For the time being,